Kush starts acting completely Egyptianized. And we're going to see what happens when the Kushites decide to take over Egypt. Because remember, at the end of our new kingdom of Egypt, we had a series of invasions going, attacking the Egyptians. We had the Sea Peoples, we had the Libyans, we had Bedouins, we had groups all over going and weakening Egypt. On top of that, we had civil war within Egypt because, of course, Alexander says, well, he should be the pharaoh, and Michael says he should be the pharaoh, and we have Eliza saying she should be the pharaoh. All of these people trying to be the pharaoh, and this winds up weakening Egypt because they're fighting the whole time. Think about it. If your coach had you going, and how many people know what it is to run a suicide? Maybe you did in basketball or something. Yeah, Cortez knows. You want to describe what that is, Cortez? Cortez, can you describe it? Or do you need Danny to describe it with his cool haircut? Yeah, you run back and forth. Yeah, so you go run a short distance back and forth, then a longer distance back and forth, then a longer distance. And how do you guys feel after your coach makes you run suicides?
It's not fun.
No, it's super tiring. It's so exhausting running them. I mean, that's why they do it. It builds up your endurance. But imagine your coach is like, all right, you're going to now run suicides for the next hour. And then after that hour's up, it's like, all right, now let's play the big game. You're not going to have any energy. Egypt is tired. They've been fighting invaders and been fighting civil wars. Yes, Danny, what did you want to say, sir?
It was about like the suicide thing, but you can do your lesson.
Yeah, and so Kush is going to wind up seeing Egypt's weakness, and they're going to send their armies north to conquer Egypt during this time. And by 730, Egypt surrenders. King Paye of Kush winds up ruling all of Egypt. But here's the thing. King Paye doesn't go, you Egyptians were jerks to us, you treated us badly, you bullied us, and now we're going to bully you. No. King Paye says, I am Pharaoh of Egypt. He starts a whole other ruling dynasty. Isn't that wild? He starts the 25th ruling dynasty of Egypt. There are 33 that we count. Cleopatra being the last of them. So, King Paye does not say, I'm king of Kush, and now you all have to act like us. King Paye says, I am Pharaoh. Because remember, Kush was so Egyptianized that they saw themselves as the same. Now, if you don't remember what a dynasty is, of course, that's when you have your line of rulers. That's when we have, Kadir's dad is king. Then Kadir is king. Then Kadir's son is king. Then his grandson is king. Then his great-grandson is king. That's a dynasty. And Paye starts a whole other dynasty. Now, this dynasty is often referred to by historians as the Black Pharaohs. And the reason why is it's quite obvious. It's, Kush is an African nation, whereas Egypt was Arab. So people were Arab, pretty tan. Kush, the people of Kush, they were full African. They were black. So they called them the Black Pharaohs because this is when, Africans ruled Egypt. But they go and they keep the Egyptian culture. They don't change it. They don't integrate a lot of Kush ideas. And we're going to see during this time, they're going to wind up going out Egypting Egypt of the New Kingdom in many ways. The way they dress, the things that they build. So King Paye says, I am Pharaoh. And rules Egypt as if, it was a continuation of the New Kingdom. And their whole thing, Paye's whole idea was he wanted to revive Egyptian glory. Because Egypt, in his and many people's opinions, was one of the oldest, greatest civilizations to ever exist. I mean, think about it. 2500 BC, we have the Great Pyramids being built. This was 2,000 years after that almost. And they said, we could go back to those days. So we're going to see them building pyramids. We're going to see them building temples. And the pyramids that the people of Kush are going to build, they're not going to be as large as the Egyptian pyramids. And we see that they're not the same architecturally either. Right in the bottom here, we see some Egyptian temples. And we see the pyramids. They are much steeper than the typical Egyptian pyramid. We see that the top is not actually pointy. It kind of winds up going ahead. This might be the cap piece being gone. We see that it has the temple etched into it. I'm not going to ask you about Jebel Barkal. You're going to see a picture of it in a minute. But this temple they're going to make is going to copy Ramses the Great's temple. But here's the thing. This will not last forever. It's kind of confusing with our class because we go through regions as opposed through time. And not long after the Kush invades and controls Egypt, the Assyrians that we talked about in our Mesopotamia unit, this is when they are becoming super powerful with the Neo-Assyrian Empire. And the Neo-Assyrians are going to wind up going and conquering Egypt. Now, they don't go and conquer Kush. The Kushites, they fight the Assyrians, but the Assyrians are going to have better weapons. Our song has a bit of a mistake in it. Kush is going to be known for its iron, but at this time they're not going to have the iron yet, whereas the Assyrians did. So the Kushites with their bronze are no match for the chariots and iron weapons of the Assyrians. And the people of Kush, they retreat. Now remember, that Nile River with its cataracts, it provided natural protection. So when the people of Kush go back to Kush, they don't have to worry about the Assyrians going further south and conquering them. And the Assyrians got what they wanted. They wanted Egypt. They didn't care about Kush. It just happened to be that Kush controlled Egypt at that time. So the Assyrians, they take over Egypt. They rule Egypt. And Kush winds up going and retreating. Yeah, Danny, you're absolutely correct that, animals were often mummified. Cats were mummified often. If we were in school, we probably would have read the cat mummy comic the day that we did our mummification, but it's a little differently since we're doing mummification as a fun alternative activity. Here we just see the people that were all fighting to be pharaoh, bowing before King Paye. Here we see the temple. It's kind of tough to see what was going on, but this was built along in the cliffs, had statues. It was pretty cool before it, became ruins. But folks, that is our notes for the day. Do we have any questions? I just stopped